All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Worldwide Academy Training Services. I'm Donna Penna, and this is Thurston Gill Jr. And we're excited. This is I'm going to congratulate us. This is our second video we're recording within 1 week. So I'm really happy that we've been able to do this so far. So we're excited to have you guys join us. Last week we did a video, kind of a welcome back introduction video. If you haven't seen that, go and watch that, like and share it, subscribe it, invite your friends to watch, see what we're about. Go visit our website, Worldwide Academy Training Services. And we're hoping to do this and just put up at least one video a week. Hopefully we'll be able to go live soon. So that's why we need you to go in there and hit subscribe. We need, so many subscribers to be able to go live. We'd love to go live so that we can then have live conversation with people that are joining us. So thank you for joining us tonight. So tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about living off grid in the wilderness versus being in an urban or a suburban environment. Now, I don't know, Thurston, when and the reason why I decided to do this was because I put a post in our Worldwide Academy Training Services Emergency Preparedness private Facebook group, where I asked people, like, what do you think? Which is better? And of course, everybody just I don't even think people think about it. They just say, of course, being out in the woods, being in the wilderness is absolutely the best thing. And, I have to say myself, I would say the same thing. I would think the same thing, but there's some things we have to discuss about that, right?
Yes, definitely.
It seems like the most obvious choice.
Yeah, depending upon your point of reference,
Yeah,
it does.
yeah.
But it's just not that cut and dry, for a number of reasons. Did you want to say something else then, or do you want me to just dive into?
Well, no, after I put that post up, and I know because we do have a very short teaching on safe houses in urban environment, which actually you guys will be on the end of this video. You'll be able to watch it. Very short teaching, and I thought about that, and I thought about, well, if I were to just take off to the wilderness right now in the woods, would I survive? Would I be prepared? Well, and I do. I have been preparing for, some years now, but am I really prepared to be out there? I mean, I know for myself, I would definitely need to be with other people. And I think, if you're not prepared, it doesn't matter where you're living. If you don't have the tools, it doesn't matter where you're
living. It doesn't matter, no.
Right? So,
right.
So either place can become very dangerous, right? I mean,
right. Definitely.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying, first of all, step one is if you're going to leave from where you are, whether it's your safe haven or a space that is transitional to get yourself home, we have to have a destination. We have to know where we're going, as opposed to just running out into nowhere. There needs to be an objective as to where am I going and how can I get there safely. There needs to be a route that has already been mapped out, a route that you would use to safely get you to where you're going. So those two things need to be squared away. A lot of people would prefer, and I do understand that they would prefer sheltering and remaining where they are, which is usually home, as opposed to going anywhere else.
Mm.
And again, that's fine as long as the conditions remain suitable for you to do so. But you have to think in terms of, if I can no longer remain here, where can I go, or where do I have to go to make sure that I'm safe? A lot of people weather hurricanes and other more dangerous storms by sheltering in their homes and remaining there. But many people have found that remaining in their homes during those periods of time end up being a death trap for them. So, a lot of things need to be considered. Destination, how to get there, even if you have a route to get there, how are you going to get there? If we're talking about a grid down situation, how do I get from point A to point B? Is it possible to use my car? Is it possible to get gas to put in my car? What other type of conveyances I can use if we had, and we're talking about a grid down situation, we're talking about a worst case scenario. How would I be able to transport all of the supplies that I need to be able to sustain me and my family when I get to the safe place? So it's a lot of things that need to be considered. Just a lot of things. We haven't even gotten to the wilderness or this urban.
Yeah, well, I was going to say we did from getting from point A to point B, and and like you said, it does depend on the circumstances. Like, okay, so let's say we have the perfect scenario. We've been preparing for a number of years. We know where we're going, or we're already out there preparing. I mean, I have friends that are homesteading, that are already out there. They're getting set up, and some of them already set up, self-sufficient. That's perfect.
Yeah.
But when you were saying too that some people don't want to go, and I can think of, like, especially the elderly, like
Yeah.
my mom, was she'd be like, I mean, I think if knew she was in great danger, she would leave, but she's just, some people that just, I'm not leaving, I'm staying with it, I'm going down with it if I have to go down with it. And
Yep. And there's a lot of people that fall into that category, and they may have good reason to. Not many people are going to fare well out in the wilderness, depending upon where you're going. It's just not going to be suitable for everybody. Another issue is, and I think I did mention that, where people will, and I think this is part of their dependence upon things as opposed to dependence upon skills and knowledge, is they've for years stockpiled and prepared for their home to be this fortress, this citadel of safety. And what happens if you can't remain there for whatever reason? There's no plan B for some people. There's not, because in their minds, they're going to go down with the Alamo. And I don't think it's necessary to think that way. And I do know the issue of preparedness, period, is overwhelming. It really is, if you think about it. But we can't afford to take shortcuts. We can't afford to be lazy just because something feels overwhelming. Well, whenever it feels overwhelming, we're going to take baby steps, take baby bites until we get it done. But you can't put all your eggs in your basket, meaning, hey, I'm going to make a last stand here, and that's it, because I'm not giving up my stuff. And that's basically, I hate to say it, that's basically what people are saying, or not saying, is I'm not giving up my stuff. This is, I've stockpiled this stuff for this reason, and I'm not giving it up. Well, that's a very dangerous mindset to be in.
Yeah, I have to tell you, it's kind of funny. And as you know, I born and raised in the city, lived there pretty much my whole life. But my desire would be to definitely be out somewhere, and hopefully that'll be coming in the future. But, you know, I had a neighbor who, we used to, and this was years ago when my daughters were little, and we would talk about that, you know, living in this city versus living in the country.
Mhm.
And her and I always had the same kind of thoughts, you know, I'd rather be in the city because if something happens to me, there's people around. I can call somebody. There's somebody always there. And we know that, you know, the neighborhood that I grew up in and that I lived in for so many years.
Exactly.
You know, those people are going to be there just because they want to know what's going on with you.
Yep.
You want to know if you're where the action is. But then we would say, but if we live in the country, we could be murdered. Nobody would even know it. You know? So, and there's some truth to that, you know, there's some truth to that. But anyway, I just thought of that story. I was just like, you know, it's kind of funny, but
It, it,
yeah, so
it really is.
there's different dangers. There's different dangers,
Yes, yes.
both. And again, it falls back on
Mhm.
preparedness, but
Yes, there it is.
your mindset,
Mhm.
right? And what if, you know,
Well, let's talk about the dangers. Let's from an urban suburban standpoint, and I think that most of us would agree that the um, people's primary concern is other people, too many other people,
right.
people are that are that are potential um, potential problems if they become hungry and, you know, and cold. Very, you know, understandable. That's a risk. That's a risk. And in an urban or suburban environment, you have a lot of people. But at the same time, you know, I want to remind people also that in the wilderness type of scenario as well, your concern is still going to be people. Maybe not as much, but I will say the people that you probably meet out there are probably more prepared to be able to take your stuff than somebody, some random group of kids or people roaming the streets. I don't know. You know, that's my opinion, but I just don't think you're going to get away from the issue of people. You still have to do what you need to do. But I will say this: I don't care whether you pick an urban or suburban uh, uh, place to choose to make your, you know, your safe haven, or out in the wilderness. No matter what, my concern is that we make these decisions in a vacuum without developing supports or other groups of people that can help fulfill your goals and objectives concerning keeping you and your family safe. I don't think we should ever think of just me doing this alone. Let me give an example. I live in a development. I have no idea how many people live in this development that I live in, but there's got to be several hundred people. Okay. Um, I would venture to say that if there was a catastrophic event that resulted in a grid down scenario, worst case scenario, most of the people here would want to stay here for the most part. And they have, I think that most of us will have a natural tendency to pretty much guard your neighborhood, because this is a development and it's pretty much contained. By working as a group, we can apparently accomplish a lot more than if I just decided to do this on my own shut up my doors and windows and tell everybody, hey, you know, every man for himself,
Yeah.
until somebody comes to my house and everybody else is, you know, um, uh, uh, gathered together and formed a larger group. And the people that decided to attack me decided to attack the smaller or the most weakest, as opposed to the bigger group that had the most people. And that's how predators think.
Mm.
They're not going to, they'd rather not risk uh, losing um, uh, their lives or their physical abilities if they can get a prey that won't give them a problem. Okay, they're not stupid.
Mhm.
I'm going to pick the weakest target because it's going to take the least effort. I'm lazy. I don't want to fight if I don't have to. But you know, why take on a bigger group? I think group dynamics play a very large role in terms of preparing and preparedness. I'm a supporter of neighborhood groups and or development groups working together in order to accomplish that goal. But if you go out into the wilderness and you go by yourself, or let's say you go with a group, you better have really planned um, out what you need to do. I mean, I'm going to go to the what's considered the most mundane of things.
Mm.
You have, let's say, 50 to 100 people, and you're out in the woods. Okay, grid down situation. Um, you have barely enough room for everybody. Just sanitation issues.
Mm.
Well, like that amount of people. If they eat, they're going to have to defecate. They're going to have to urinate.
Mhm.
How is that going to be handled? Um, and that's something serious. You know, sanitation uh, is can be a problem, but all that has to be worked out. It's not something we just go and everybody just finds a tree and you know, yeah, you dig a hole here. You dig
Just say dig a hole. Oh, you gotta go, you gotta go.
We got 100 holes all over the
Those,
place.
those are things we don't like to think about.
Think about
But and you know, I'm just thinking about, you know, we're so you know, in the Western culture, we're so used to having all of our um, you know, our amenities, our all of just everything we need, right? And we could
yes,
probably learn something,
yes,
some things from our brothers and sisters in other countries that, you know, are not so fortunate, quote, fortunate as we are about these things because man, there's such a difference.
it is.
Again, mindset. I mean, because they don't, so you have to figure out what you're gonna do.
And that's what we lose, that ability, that opportunity to figure out what we do, as opposed to um, hey, let's get somebody, you know, we depend on somebody else to do it for us.
Mhm.
Or because nobody's doing it, oh, we can't have it, or we can't do it because nobody's doing it. No, you're gonna have to figure it out.
Right,
And when you need it, it's not the time to figure it out.
right,
It's
again.
not the time to figure it out. Now, when we talk about sanitation, you still have the same issues in an urban environment too. You still have sanitation issues.
Mhm.
You know, you just do. But again, it has to all be planned out. It has to be planned. What are you going to do? You can't flush the toilet anymore. So what are you going to do? You know?
Yeah.
So
It's so important. And, you know, and I was thinking about, you know, and not to be, I'm certainly not naive because I have, like I said, I've lived in the city and I have seen when people come together in groups and want something, you know,
mhm,
or want to take something or want to, you know, I know what that's about. But I also, that's what I was going to say before you were talking about that, the groups coming together. It's like, but again, it goes back to you have to have the force that you have to prepare, you have to get the people together ahead of time, you know, to be be prepared for these kinds of things and to be able to take charge and to be able to lead the way. Because I really think that, and again, if it's a total disaster or if it's a total grid down or whatever, fear comes in, and people want, the kid or the guy that's so tough, every other day might not be so tough anymore because he just doesn't know what to do. And so
Right.
if there is a group of people who know what to do, and a group of people who are prepared and that can take the lead and say, okay, and organize, and all right, this is what we're going to do. I think, some of that can quell some, I'm not saying all, but some of that uneasiness, the fear, the panic or whatever. But again, being prepared ahead of time. And it's so unfortunate, really, that it takes, in so many places, a disaster to happen before people will then afterwards, if they can rebuild, do something about it. But and again, we're all living our own lives. We're all so busy. We're all like, even myself, we're overwhelmed with life. And it can't happen to me.
Right.
It can happen to me. It never I remember when I was a child and I was afraid. I don't know how old I was. I was probably, I don't know, 10, maybe less, younger than that. And I was like afraid that we were going to have a tornado. I don't know why. I must have heard something or whatever. And my dad said to me, don't worry about it. We don't get tornadoes around here because of the mountains. It'll break it all apart. I was like, oh, okay. you know, well, that's not the case anymore. As we know, weather has gone crazy.
Yeah.
And it's going to go crazier.
Yes, I agree. I totally
but
agree.
but it's like that. Well, it's not going to happen here.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm not going to worry about that.
Yeah. And I think by God's grace, a lot of communities have dodged many, many bullets. You know, a lot of things that could have happened did not happen. And some of us consider that and step up our preparation, and some of us say, hey, I told you so. Back to life as normal. um
Yeah, and that's one
w-
thing. That's one thing we do, right?
yeah, yeah,
Unless it is like I said, these poor people that have had totally lost everything.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is like, okay, we survived that. We got a few trees down, we have this and that. Okay,
Mhm.
we're good. We'll be
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And the next time it'll be just like that. That's in our minds. Oh, we ever handled that before. We can handle it just like that again. Um, I tell you, Don, um, it really is tough sometimes when you're the one called to help people in need, when they can make your life a lot easier to help them by helping themselves.
mhm.
And it's difficult,
Yeah.
but you continue to do it. You continue to warn people. Some people listen, some people don't. But I just think that when it comes to what we call emergency preparedness, um, I think that it should be considered a typical life skill. In other countries, it is.
Mm.
Uh, in the early pioneering days in the United States, it was. Uh, we really lost a lot over the years. We're so dependent upon technology. Once any of it's gone, we don't know what to do. We really don't, but we need to know what to do. We
Mm.
need to. It's essential that we do. Um, I also want to say to you about um, certain essentials related to survival in an urban versus a wilderness type of environment.
Mhm.
Um, as far as security is concerned, uh, I would prefer if there was a risk of crowds and riots and so on and so forth, I would of course would like to be in a situation where um, me and my family would stay hidden. Uh, in a urban environment with proper preparation, I think you can do a pretty good job of hiding. There's just so many places to hide.
Mm,
um, as opposed to the wilderness, if you do not have any bushcrafting skills in a way that would enable you to provide a safe and secure shelter that is hidden, um, you're just going to have an orange tent out in the middle of the wilderness for somebody to see, and it's just not going
that's
to work.
true.
It's gonna
That's
work.
true. And I know that you, a couple of years ago, you actually went to a training wasn't it in Atlanta,
Yes, in Atlanta, Georgia. Yes,
where you had to, wow, you went through some pretty tough things
right.
um, throughout that city. You want to share anything about that, or
Yes, I will say this. I had a very
it was
what would you
intense?
call it?
It was
I
intense, right?
Yes, it was a test and
Intense.
it's an eye-opening experience.
Mm,
Um, for those that don't know, I went to an escape and evasion, a type of training um, in Atlanta, Georgia, and basically our testing ground was the city of Atlanta.
mm,
And the scenario we were given, first, of course, we went through classroom instruction on things that we could do, ideas, and how to use our imagination,
mm,
okay, to be able to do certain things to prevent from being located. Because the group of guys that were in my class, we were in the escape and evasion part of the course, and there was another class that was tasked with their class was manhunting. So they were tasked with trying to locate us as this scenario that was created began to develop, and we were basically contacted on our cell phones. Okay, so now this has happened. The city is under rebel control, and you instead of having access to 5 square miles of places to go, it has been narrowed down to 1.5 square miles. What do you do? And so our job was to blend in and hide as much as possible to not be detected. So basically, I was the only one that wasn't caught. Um, and that was because I decided to just blend in to the population. And the population that seemed to be uh, in a lot of the areas where we were conducting this exercise was a lot of homeless people. So I became a homeless man. And so I met guys. One guy showed me where to go to get some food.
that must have been an amazing training, though.
Yeah, it was quite an
I
experience.
think I think that we should hold a training like that.
Definitely,
I think we
definitely.
should.
Uh,
I,
uh,
I, I
but-
think that would be wild. I mean,
mhm. It's
it's so beneficial.
Yes, I agree. But what I found out um, in that class, uh, before I went to that class, I had the same idea about, oh, I'm going in the woods, taking my family, we gotta go in the woods, and that's where we're gonna go, type of thing. And urban environments have so many resources, it's ridiculous.
Mm,
Um, let's just talk about food.
mhm,
Yeah, if once the general population gets a hint that food supply chain is going to be threatened, everybody's going to head to the grocery stores and Walmart and clean it out.
mm,
That's just how it is.
mhm.
And but those are the last places I would want to be.
Yeah.
That's where crowds of people are.
Mm,
Um, and you're going to have to fight for what's ever left on the shelf. I don't even want to be in the mix of that. So what I learned to do is to go to other places that have food where it's not as contested. Like the snack machines in the industrial park businesses and warehouses, offices. You know, they have bunches of food and water and so on and so forth. That's the last place people go to gather food.
So you're going to teach us how to break into those vending machines?
Well, put it this way. Never, don't you tell anybody I told you to pick it to the place to get food. But I'm saying.
Nope, nothing. Don't say anything. Nope.
This is part of our pre-planning.
Going out there.
Okay, this is part of our pre-planning. You know, we may know somebody that works in the area, that has access to the building. You know, we can't wait until something happens and then start breaking into stuff, you know.
Yeah.
That you know, you don't want to jeopardize your safety in that regard or break the law.
Right.
This stuff has to be planned out beforehand. We're surrounded by warehouses. One warehouse is a food distribution center. So, you know, again, it's a matter of your group. And there's another thing. Can I say something in regard to this terminology that's used to help you kind of form groups of people to work with? The criteria is like-minded, other like-minded people. I want to say a word concerning that. Be honest with you, I don't care that you're like-minded as I am. As a matter of fact, I think we might benefit from a person not thinking the way I do, so somebody else can see something from a different perspective than mine. Number one, and number two, I really care more about what your skill sets are.
Yeah.
Because that's going to benefit me and my family and my group.
In that situation, yeah.
Oh, yes. Your like-mindedness is not going to, I'm sorry, it might not put food on my table. It might not protect me from the ISIS terrorists that are taking over the neighborhood. I mean, you know, skills and knowledge. And that's what we should look for.
Yeah. Well, you know, I didn't want to cut you off. If you had to say about that. I want to take a little bit of a turn, just a little bit. Last week we talked a little bit, and I never really introduced you in the beginning of this interview, but Thurston is our lead instructor with Worldwide Academy Training Services, and obviously you can figure out what he teaches besides other things. But last week, Thurston, we talked a little bit about your philosophy way of teaching that sets you apart from the normal, you know, emergency preparedness, safety and security, personal protection, all that stuff. I want to ask you where this is concerned, where safety and security or where emergency preparedness is concerned. What is your I don't know if I'm using the right, like, what is your paradigm? What is your desire in and how, and what's the difference between how you are teaching? Because I want to bring this up again. You know, because you're saying like-mindedness is not really in that scenario that you're looking for. Always, you're just, you know, you just want somebody with skills or whatever. But I know that you have a certain mindset and a heart to what you're doing. And even if you are in the middle of a disastrous situation, total grid down, whatever, you would be reacting in a certain way. And I want you to address that if you wouldn't mind.
Yes. Yeah. And I think what Donna's alluding to is that my approach to emergency is not just emergency preparedness, readiness, response, and recovery is from the standpoint of God being in charge and He instructing my way. Um, like the Bible says, that a person that guards a city and doesn't regard God in the equation, then you're guarding the city by yourself. So I believe that the Lord has given us all abilities to do certain things. And when it comes to doing things like relating to security and safety, um, we are spiritual beings. We have a soul or a mind. We have a body. But many of us, and I know I have been for years, I've been in law enforcement for a couple of years and been in security for most of my life, it seems like. And I had to learn and understand that when it comes to protecting people and protecting yourself, it's not a one-dimensional thing. We are three-dimensional beings, and all those dimensions come into play to do a job effectively. And so that's what Philoso does. Philoso means to guard. It means using all of our powers in order to guard people that are in need of our protection and our care, whether it be our families, friends, or whether it be a community at large. It doesn't matter. And I believe that the Lord has not only called me to this level of understanding, but He's called others as well. And part of my quest is locating who those people are. And also, when the need arises, like many times over the years it has, when something happens, I'm called into service to provide care, a care of protection, and that's what I do. But I also know it's more powerful, or philosophy, the concept, the culture, the mindset, the lifestyle is more effective if you can teach other people to do the same thing. And that's what I'm looking for. As the Lord creates opportunities for me to do so, I will teach it, I will speak it, and I will do it. And I think that's the area that at least He's taken me into.
Mm.
I believe in, when it comes to safety and security, it is done in a team effort. It's not done by one single individual doing everything on their own. It just doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
It's a team effort, and I would like to see more people on the team.
Mm.
You know?
Yes, I would too. I think, two things. Like you mentioned lifestyle, it's a lifestyle. And I have to say that since I started to come under your trainings and be taught by you, and you've changed my way of thinking and looking at things, and always having that swivel head, to the point, as an example, I was this weekend helping my daughter with a performance showcase that her and her friends were putting on. And I was ticket taker, and then I also, so as the show began, I stayed close to the door and had other things to, but I was constantly looking at that door to watch to see who was coming in. And it's changed my mindset. Not that I live in fear, I don't, but I look at things different now. I'm a person who, I've been so much into what I'm thinking, and I'm what I'm doing, and that I totally box myself in, wouldn't see anything else around me. But I've become more aware.
Yes.
My awareness has definitely awake, come alive to where I'm now, like you say, I'll be looking across the store, and just checking people out and like, something doesn't look right. So it's become a lifestyle more for me. Thinking about even when I go to the store, to the grocery store, go to the Dollar's Tree or whatever, looking at things and saying, how could I use this? What could I
Yes.
put it in my go
Yes.
bag? What could I,
Yes.
um,
And that's fun too, by the way.
yeah. Yeah. And it's cheaper. Well, though not as cheap as it used to be. Nothing's cheaper anymore. But the other thing too, like you said, is to educate other people. And that's, our tagline, Worldwide Academy Training Services, is to educate, three-pronged, to educate, train, and to release.
Yes.
And so that is our focus with everything that we do, whether it's CPR, first aid, pet first aid, safety, security, whatever it is to educate those who want to be educated, but not just to have the knowledge, obviously, because you have to train and you have to practice, which I must say, definitely wish I had more of. And that's hopefully coming. But then to release those people, and like you said, to create this community who can then again, who can also become more aware and to live this lifestyle, not in fear, but to be awake, to be aware, and most of all, to be able to care for one another, to live in community,
Yes.
to pass on what they know to somebody else. So, I mean, that's, I just think, and I don't know, I think that's a great place to end, unless you have something else that you want to say.
No, I think that's, that's the goal. That's our objective. It's ministry to me. And I think I'm absolutely certain I'm not alone. There are many people out there that have been called to do the same thing, whether it's just to be for your family or to be for your community, to be for your job. Doesn't matter, as long as you're obedient to your purpose, or one of your purposes in this world. It's a shame to have to leave this life and not fulfill all that God has put before you to fulfill. And because that's the only way we're going to be satisfied anyway, right?
Right.
Fulfilling our purpose.
Exactly. And that's my call all the time, just telling people that, you have a purpose, no matter how bad you think your life is, no matter how difficult things are, no matter what you think you cannot do, you're put here on this earth for a purpose to live out. And so don't ever give up. And this, I want to just put this out there too, that if you're watching this on recording on YouTube or wherever it is that you're watching, and you have been called in the same area, we would love to connect with you. We would love to hear from you, again, to form a network of people who are preparing and who are ready and who have the same mindset. And there's power in numbers, right? So if you connect with this, and if you feel you're called to it, but you don't have any training yet, contact us. We're back. We're ready. We're doing it. And so, so Thurston, thank you for coming in. We had, like I said in the beginning, we have just a very short teaching on urban safe houses and skills. And it just kind of basically takes you through like asking questions, or, bringing to your mind things that you would have to consider if you are going to shelter in place in an urban environment. And so you'll see that at the end of this recording. And I just want to remind you to please like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. There's another way for us to build our network. And thanks for stopping by. I don't know what we'll be doing next week. We'll see, right?
Until then, God bless you.
Yes.
And I'm praying that everybody under the sound of our voice opens their heart and their minds to the Lord so that they can find their place and their calling, that it becomes more clear to them than ever before. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Yes. Well, thank you. All right. We'll see you again soon. Ciao.